Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Survivor 49 for Survivor Global. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about episode 12, the penultimate episode of the season. And what can be said? What can be said? Many things actually will be said. I'm acting like we're not about to podcast for a couple hours about this, but train wreck would be kind, I think. I don't even know where to begin, but I'll start by introducing my guest. He is a regular here on Survivor Global, Survivor South Africa. It is Jacques. Jacques, thank you for being here.
Hi Shannon, thank you so much. Yeah, like you said, it's been an interesting episode. And I think the last two times I podcast with you because of scheduling, it's kind of been after the finale or we did the finale. But I feel like usually I don't know why, but like we always get these like massive episodes and there's like this big like thing happening or this massive play. And I think this was one of those tribals where there's a lot of I don't believe what I'm seeing, what just happened kind of moments, which is interesting. So, yeah, excited to unpack it.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the cold light of day, this is the best episode of the season. I think in the moment, I was so frustrated by what everyone was doing that I wasn't enjoying it to its full potential. And I kind of had my head in my hands. But having watched it again today and having, like, I would say settled those feelings, but I think you'll see through this podcast that is not true. But, like, coming away from it a bit or not, like, experiencing it in the moment, I was like, this is the best episode of the season. And it's a really funny episode. Like when I was watching it again, the disaster I actually found really comical, which I didn't the first time. One of my funniest things is that when Christina goes to vote, so the first time I thought Sage had flipped. I never would have thought Christina was not voting for Sophie, was voting for Steven. So she walks up, I actually have the exact wording. She says, "That was epic. Good job, Steven," and proceeds to write an S. I should have known when she was writing the S, but I didn't even clock it because I'm like, obviously I think she's with Steven. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, why did she say it was epic? She knows he's about to be unanimously voted out. How does what she's saying match what she's writing as she goes to write the S of Steven? Questions abound. We hope to answer some of them, but my God, my God, how did we get here?
I'm going to say something that's a bit, might be unorthodox.
Okay.
Have you ever gone and seen a movie and then
then
you
the
come back and
analogy's really early today. That's good.
yeah, that's not an analogy. It's more like a story. But I mean, I don't know. It's not a tribal analogy. That's for sure.
Sounds like an analogy. Yeah.
Have you ever gone and watched a movie and then come back and like you really enjoyed the movie and you think like, wow, this was really cool. And then like you open your phone or you talk to people and then everybody's spanning the movie and you feel like, wow, I enjoyed it, but maybe I shouldn't have because it wasn't that well received. I kind of feel like that about this season. I feel like I don't do a lot of social media, but like I'm enjoying it and I'll tell you why in a second. But I feel like now, like doing all the prep for this podcast, I feel like a lot of people are super low on this.
Yes.
We do rescheduling because some of your guests have stopped watching this season. So a lot of people are like super low on it. So it's just interesting for me from my vantage point, how I actually enjoyed it and how I see a lot of people don't. So it will be interesting for me to kind of be the yin to your yang today to understand why you're slow on it. So not the best way to kick down the door of this podcast, but that's the 1 to 3 of the situation at the moment.
I mean, it's been a much better post-merge. I think the pre-merge was mired in just a lot of stop-start. I don't think the cast is like super electric. I think there's obviously a spectrum. And like if I look at it, I was thinking about it, half of this cast went to 3 tribal councils max. That's not enough space for me to get into the weeds of someone's gameplay. That's half the cast. So I think a lot of the structure, and then, the merge, which is better, has been Hina just imploding to the point. And like when I say Hina, I mean the side that beat Nate. Yet since Nate went and they were the 7-3 and they've gone down to 3-2. And I think what will be 3-1 of the final 4. It's like, how did we get here? Like you can either enjoy the fact that like, it was rolling downhill. It also felt like really predictable in the edit and like the context of the season that they were about to lose. So I think that takes away from it, which is no one's fault other than the show. It's not the cast fault. Yeah. But yeah, like how much are you putting on, wow, this is so impressive of Rizzo and Savannah, which you definitely give to. But then how much is it, how did you guys screw up this much? Is that good TV or is that just really frustrating? Like it was like a ball rolling downhill and you kind of think it can't get worse and it just never stops. And I don't think has yet. So for me, it's been better. but that's certainly not amazing. And like a lot of the credit that I'm giving, which I want to give, and I do give to Rizzo and Savannah, is also complicated by, you guys just really screwed this up, to the other side. So it's not like, I mean, it is impressive, but you know what I mean? It doesn't like bring the season up that much to me when it was already starting on such a bad spot. So I think and it has to be said, like, it's the 9th season of some similar things. That in itself, which wasn't great. We want them to change it up to listen to us, and they won't. So it's a lot of like general sentiment that I think that the season gets caught in. None of that to me is spectacular, but it's definitely gotten better. Like, to get to a penultimate episode and say I think it's the best it's been, like that's not terrible. Like, it's on the right path. It's just I think that path to me is quite low.
Yeah. No, I think I do. I mean, that I agree with you, and I think that's the problem. I mean, like you said, 2 things I really agree with. First one, since 41 to 49, it's just been such a blur in my mind of which season is which season. I mean, if you tell me who won, millennials versus Gen X, like immediately in my mind, I can have like this picture. Okay, it was like the old people, the new people, like Adam was there, and Jay, and David. I can like fully like get a 3-dimensional picture of a season. If you ask me like who was the merge boot in 45, I like have to go, okay, and I like do a lot of mental gymnastics just to
Taylor played Shot in the Dark, but it's Murgatory. I mean, and then it was a split tribal, but yeah.
Okay, I'm talking about somebody who does a podcast about this every week. So that's the one thing. And I know there's a reason why they got rid of themes and casting. Blah, I get that, but I feel like as a viewer, if you're like a super casual viewer, it's very difficult to understand it. And then the second thing that I really think has hurt this new season is I know Jeff has this whole thing about there should be no place to hide, which is fine, but these small tribes of 3 with not getting supplies, with not getting food, blah blah blah. How many seasons have we seen a tribe just get decimated when they lose like one episode, and the problem with that is not necessarily only that the one tribe loses and they get absolutely destroyed. It's also that as a viewer, you don't get to know the other people from the other 2 tribes because they don't get their screen time until like a third of a season in. Which is also like something from a viewing perspective makes it feel like sometimes you're like, hey, who's this person? I just saw them, and you're like 5 episodes into the season, which should be an Australian staple. I mean, that's the Australian way of doing it. You only realize there's a person in after 5 episodes. So I think I do agree with you. Those 2 points really make this season difficult, but I do think it has picked up kind of after when they went to 2 tribes from like that point on, which points coincidentally I think it's the first time in New Era they were in two tribes. I checked Rob's fact checker tweeted that. I think since then it's gotten better, and then it's kind of now it's been on an upward trajectory from there on.
Even that for me, like the 2 tribes were still just kind of like them picking off Hina and Hina not doing anything about it. Like I think, from Shannon, and it's built, but like I think for me I need more, coming from like the dregs of like the 40th disaster tribe. I definitely need more. Like the 46, like to me, the post-merge was electric. Like that was banger after banger, and it was so heated. Like it's such a unicorn in the new era that they were so angry, and that was great. There was so much emotion. It was ugly. I remember saying like this was really fun, but it was so ugly that we can't do like such a toxic season like this. Like we can do like 1 every 4 years, like just for my own mental health. But like it was entertaining, and that came from like a lower post-merge, and I wouldn't say that this post-merge has even nearly hit those highs. But again, I spend the first 10 minutes of every podcast complaining about the new era, which is not my intention. I do have other things to say about it, but they can probably wait for more like miscellaneous stuff at the end of the podcast. But to talk about this vote, because there was fun stuff in this vote. Fun and maddening things happening here. Where to begin? Who from the list of questions? I'm going to talk about Sage first, because I think Sage is shown to be making a lot of this decision. Like, obviously, if Sage and Christina vote differently, this could go a very, very different way. It's a 5-person vote. They have a lot of power. I come in every week, almost without hyperbole, and say, if you just vote for Rizzo, if he plays the idol, your target, anyway will go home. This is the 4th out of 5 weeks I've said that. It was true of the decision makers in Joanne and Sage with MC in the MC vote. It was true in the Alex vote. It was true last week in the Sophie vote that I thought that Christina and Steven and Sage could have voted for Rizzo, and if he plays the idol, Sophie anyway goes on the bounce back. And it is true today that if Christina and Sage just vote 2 votes onto Rizzo, then it is a 2-2-1. And if he plays the idol, Steven goes home anyway 2-1. And if he doesn't play the idol, it's a 2-2-1 revote, and your 2 went out on the revote, and you can send Rizzo home. People ask, why send Rizzo home? I think that's been the major discourse around this episode in the last day since it aired, which is Rizzo's like a Xander. They don't think they need to vote him out. Even Steven said in exit interviews, like, it wasn't playing for the jury as much. And to that, I have 2 points. One, he's not Xander, I don't think. Xander was having a tough time kind of against anyone. Like, I think he's a 0-vote finalist. Whereas Rizzo, I don't think is last year. I think that Savannah is a much bigger jury threat. I think Steven is a bigger jury threat. But I think Sage thinks, and I agree with her, that Rizzo beats that 3 of her final 3 that she says of Sage, Sophie, and Christina. If that's the 3 she wants to get to, she has to get rid of Rizzo anyway. So while I don't think that his jury chances are as high as maybe we used to think, I don't think they're as low as people now just like painting him with like the Xander brush. I also think it's not about the jury chances. It's about the idol. They're restricted here on the idol. They seem to fall for somehow the lie that the idol, which is always good till 5, expires here. Now they're going to go till 5. Firstly, they've given up a definite majority. They're relying on Sophie, who may flip at 5 and may not. She seems to be really between it. She's giving extreme mixed messaging. She tells them at the reward about knowledge is power. She's given so much information that she's going to turn on them. So A, just on a majority, and B, on I think the most concerning thing, if Savannah wins the immunity challenge, which is what you'd bet money on, now Rizzo's immune with the idol because you didn't flush it. And then who will go home? It will have to be probably Sage. I think Sage is going home next because I think she's restricted herself by not flushing the idol here, when if she'd kept Steven in, taken out Rizzo, who I do think would beat her in a final tribal council anyway, then yeah, I think that now she's restricted with Rizzo with his idol and Savannah, who will probably both be immune. Whereas if Rizzo's idol is gone, or if Rizzo is gone with the idol, then someone would be available. The person who doesn't win immunity, whether it's Steven or Savannah, or Rizzo without the idol, Savannah wins. To me, there's massive scope. And there's an inability to do it. They talk about it all the time. Like, I'm not going to be gaslit on the fact that they clearly do want Rizzo and his idol out of the game. They talk about it in confessional, and I'm going to take them at their word. And they seem incapable of achieving it, despite the fact that, again, 4 out of 5 weeks, they can just put votes on him, and it would happen. That's my main thing. I think that that's been the major talking point. Do you blame Sage as much as I do on this? Because I think it's indefensible, actually.
So I almost want to say, let's park the Rizzo idol conversation just for a second, because I have a lot to say about that. Let's just focus on Sage. So I'll say this on the idol and Rizzo, and we can unpack it a bit later. I think, I don't want to say the time has come and gone, but getting rid of the idol, that they should have done that, like you say, 4 weeks ago, right? You shouldn't be in this position.
They should not.
So now that you're on this position, it is what it is. Okay, but the window of opportunity was there. I think they've ran out of runway.
There was an opportunity here.
Potentially, I don't disagree. But putting yourself in Sage's shoes, I think, like, I posed the question to Haley. I said, if you're Sage, like, what's your with the 6 people that's left in the game, what's your best chance of winning? Like, who are the 2 people you have to sit next to win? And I think it's probably Christina and Sophie at this point, based on what I've seen. I mean, so that means you either have to take out Rizzo, who you can, or you have to take out Steven. If Rizzo has an idol and it's a 50-50, then he's going to play it, and if I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that an idol expires at 6. If you think of how things change, I know every single idol. It is
beyond the realm. It is. I'm sorry, it's a regular idol. Extreme precedent. Anyway.
I'm saying, you don't know if Jeff changed the rules. I'm just saying. He
just changed it now in season 49 after decades. Ask him to see the note. That fishy asked to see the note.
Yeah, I agree with that bit. But anyway, so if you have to, like you say, I don't want to talk about Rizzo now. If you have to put yourself in Sage's position and you assume that Rizzo is immune, then I think going for Steven, because Steven reminds me a lot of Tommy, who won Island of the Idols, where he's this like, he's not particularly good in challenges. He's not particularly strategic. He's just one of those people you think like everybody likes him. So if he does get to the end, you can get the wins. That's kind of how I've seen his season. So I think those type of players are extremely underratedly potent when they get to the end. So I think, and obviously Steven has a higher chance of winning out. He can't vote out Savannah, and Steven has a higher chance of winning a challenge against, as opposed to someone like Rizzo. I mean, Sage came second in the previous Immunity Challenge, so she's no slough in these challenges. So I think, again, I just assume you can't vote for Rizzo. I think Sage's road to the end, getting Steven out, I don't hate it. The way that.
My big thing on that is the assumption that you can't get out Rizzo. That to me is the concern. If it's Sophie versus Steven and there is no other option, you can't vote out Sophie. I admire that Sage is looking at who she can beat. I think she really has a clear view of that, and I agree with her. I think she's correct. I don't think enough players say, who can I beat? Especially someone like Sage, where it's very unfortunate. I think that this has just been a hard, maybe that's the perception of her that she plays into. You can see the way they kind of have to like coddle her after the challenge. I don't think there's a lot of people she can beat. I don't even think it was based on her voting out the wrong people. I don't know that she can beat
She's been phenomenal this season, just as a TV character. She's been incredible.
And she knows that there's like probably these two people she can maybe beat. And even that is a maybe. Now that Sophia screwed this up, it's a better maybe. But that's her best three. And I admire that she's even thinking in that way and that she's thinking correctly about it. If it's Sophie or Steven, even if she loses a majority at 5, even if she's taking on more restrictions at 5, she cannot vote out Sophie. It is a game-losing move. I completely agree. My question is, there is the third thing. My thing is, Rizzo tells you it's good at 6 and you go, okay, why would anyone lie on Survivor? Why has anyone made up changes in rules on Survivor, which people do all the time? You call the bluff, you ask about it. And the best thing is, the calling the bluff is just voting that way. Let him play it on the last time he can play it, quote unquote. Steven will go anyway. There is no risk to you. It's the fact that you can't think outside the box. You take out Rizzo because he's highly restrictive. It's not, people keep making it like a Sophie versus Steven question, and it's not. Rizzo is in the equation, and Rizzo, I think, is damaging. I think that the one thing they might say is, well, Rizzo's a lot worse at challenges. You maybe want to go to 4 with Rizzo, where you wouldn't want to go with Steven and Savannah. So maybe you prioritize Steven over Rizzo. But I do think the issue is Rizzo will be immune next without a challenge. Like, for me, it's having the idol there. Like, in a perfect world, I do think Rizzo plays the idol, Steven goes. And then Rizzo can be voted for next if Savannah wins, or if she doesn't, you get Rizzo through to the final 4. Like, that is better than Steven or Savannah. But I'd certainly be taking out a sure immunity in Rizzo's immunity at 5, rather than the fear and threats of the immunity threats in Steven or Savannah. Well, you can't do Savannah. She'd obviously be perfect. But like someone in Steven, just to take out the idol. I think that taking out any of those 3 is good, because Savannah knows she needs to sit with Sophie and Christina. And I think taking out, Steven or Rizzo, but with Rizzo's idol, was paramount. And I think not trying for that or falling for an idol bluff, which is so outside the realm of possibility, not pushing it. The fact that she comes in after and she's like, you can play it at 5. Yes, every year, every season, Sage. So that's what I'm criticizing. I would never want her to take out Sophia. I agree with her on that.
Yeah. Can we talk about Rizzo for a second?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoy the season. I'm quite jealous because I think Rizzo is playing the game that I wanted to play when I went out to play Survivor. Whereas this guy who's like just kicking out, he like loves giving these over the top analogies and having fun with the game. Instead of I think I was maybe a bit too serious, but I think what Rizzo had that I didn't have in my season is he's doing exactly what I wanted to do, but with allies that he can trust. and that makes it such a fun thing to watch. If you're in a position where everybody's against you, and you're an idol, you can maybe do 1 or 2 tricks, but at some point in time, if there's a majority, they're going to split votes on you anyway, and then you have to play your idol to save yourself and you go out. But if you have, in Rizzo's case, if you have like 2 or 3 people that you really trust, you can get away with it. It's just been insane. I've seen online a lot of people comparing it to kind of how Tony played, which is like all
very high praise, Tony.
But I'm just,
yeah.
Let me ask the other way around. How many times have we seen a person with an idol coming into the pre-merge that everybody knows about, and then make it to final 5 with the idol, and like you say, everybody's saying we want to get this person out. I mean, this isn't like Game Changers where Game Changers. Was it Troy Zan who had an idol like in the 3rd episode, and then kind of nobody saw him as a threat, and then he got to the end anyway, and didn't get about. It's not like that.
Troy Zan was the archetype of that.
Yeah, but it's not like that type of situation, right? This is a situation where the people, like, they want to get him out. They do articulate that he's a threat with the idol, and then somehow, I mean, even in that small tribe when MC went home, right? He still managed to get out of that unscathed and keep the idol. And to be fair, we've seen 3 people misplay. I don't say misplay, but he played the idols incorrectly this season. MC has played it incorrectly. Katrina has played it incorrectly. Steven has played one incorrectly. So
Steven Steven went home, and then Alex played one. And didn't go home. Yeah.
Yeah, was it Alex, MC, Alex? Yeah.
And
so it's been 4. It's been 4.
Yeah.
So 4 idols have been played.
It's been 3 idols, and Steven had the advantage.
Didn't Steven have? Okay.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Then 3. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yeah. You're right. Alex is the other one. So I'm just saying. So I mean, Hayden Rizzo's like over the top hyperbole ways of speaking, calling himself Rizgard, but all these other people had similar ammunition. They could have done the same, and they didn't pull it off. So you can't hate the guy for getting to the end in his over the top way of playing, and with all these antics, booking a ticket to season 50. I like to say I'm quite jealous because I think he did something. Whether it's going to win the game or not, I don't know. But he did something that I wish I could have done and tried to do. He just pulled it off a lot better than I could have done. So that's why I enjoy kind of watching him run hoops around these people with the limited amount of ammunition. And like I said, I think the advantage of having allies you can trust, I think that's a key differentiator between just using the idol and then kind of having people who assist you in getting it all the way to final 5.
Yeah, well, see, I'm biased because the jury don't seem to love the showboating. He's like younger than them, and like they don't. They probably seems cocky. It would work on me because it works on me now. I love this stuff. Like I had my head in my hands, and then when Rizzo didn't play the idol, I was like, "Are you gonna back yourself that your implicit immunity would work and they wouldn't target you?" Which was what happened, and he does. He knows that there's a chance that maybe it doesn't work, but it's ballsy. And he's sacrificing. So if the funny thing about this is I think Uli thought they'd lost. Like whether they knew that there was meant to be a unanimous vote, like at the point where their like idol block doesn't work, they might have thought the other side switched it up on them. Like he goes through that vote thinking it might be me, and it's probably so. If Savannah's vote is blocked, like they think they've lost. Even when they think they've lost, they cannot lose. It's just impossible. And that stuff works on me. I was like, wow, in a sea of just awful gameplay, something like that where he kept the idol, it had me out of my seat. Like that to me was so exciting. This stuff works for me. I love the implicit immunity stuff. I've loved that you did it. You and people on your season didn't necessarily love you doing it, but you extended it out. Ferris is a good example. Haley is a good example. I think it takes guts. I think it takes Reed. And I think he's reading his own, the threat that he's posed. He's reading the players around him. And he's reading like extreme precedent that they will not take a shot. And I think that I love that. I'd vote just for that because that to me is just so impressive. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy like that. I would vote that way as a juror because I really enjoy all of that so much.
No, I hear you, and I'm glad you are entertained. One thing I will mention, okay, I just want to tap into some things that happened in our season. after like the first tribe swap, we knew at the blue tribes hula there was an idol there that wasn't played, and it was always like when we got to the merge, there was always rumors like, does Rob have it? Does Nicole have it? Did they give it to Steffi? You know, who's kind of doing what with it? So everybody knew it was in the game, but because there was this, and Sipe as well, she was part of that mix to an extent. So there's 3 or 4 potential people who have it somewhere between them. If you don't have a majority, it's very difficult to kind of, and that I agree with Reza. I'm saying like if you go out at 9, go out at 9, but play to win. That's always been my approach, and I kind of critical of the people in my season as well. It's a lot of times didn't want to make the move because I didn't know where it was, and I think that kind of just that unknown element between those 4 people made a lot of people in our season afraid to target at least one of them, because what if one of them plays it and then they'll often go to the safe route until they get painted into a corner. So it's difficult if you don't have a full majority and there is an idol in the mix. Now this one is difficult because everybody knew Reza had it, but I'm just kind of giving the player's perspective of the other side of the coin. If you're in a scenario like that where there is an idol floating and you don't have a full majority where you can say, I'm going to put 4 votes on one and 3 on another one, and then you only have 2 to come back to us, or 3, then it's very difficult to play from a minority position against an unknown idol, or an idol which you don't know if they're going to play or not, unless you have people who's willing to say, guys, let's do it. I mean, if we go home, we go home. I mean, like I think that's one of the things Tyson was quite good at saying. If we draw rocks, we draw rocks. I don't care, but we got to make this move. Otherwise, we're going to lose the game anyway. And you need that kind of mentality and that type of people to break through a strong core alliance with an idol. And we've seen it happen in the past, like I said, I just mentioned Tyson. But in this case, I don't know if they were scared or didn't want to do it or didn't have the intel, but that's why sometimes you see it, the opposite happen, where, like you say, they'll take the easy vote every time until they go and they're like, well, you know, where's all my people left? And then you go home at 5 or 6. So
yeah, this season is so unique because it's been Rizzo or a consensus target. MC, Alex, not Jawan, Sophie, and Steven now. That's why you could put votes on Rizzo and still have your target go home on the bounce back. I think the only person actively left out of any of those votes, other than the unanimous votes that they were, was Christina, and then Steven didn't vote for Alex, but was in on the vote. That's how unanimous it's been. There's been so much scope, not to split, but just to put the, equal or more votes on Rizzo so that the bounce back is there. I think that Rizzo's approach is so refreshing in this season, especially. It's something I've been very frustrated on in how conservative it's been and why people aren't wanting to throw and why people aren't wanting to kind of like take the shot. And I think that's very true of like Sage here being like, well, we can't take the shot when they actually can. The funny thing is that Sage and Christina, I think, are really viewed as goats, and that gives them extreme freedom. They're not going to be the targets. They don't have heat on them. Their names aren't coming up, and they actually don't have a lot to lose. They should be taking the most shots, and they're playing scared. And I think I saw a clip today of Ethan Zahn on Tyson's podcast on The Ringer, and I thought, what an amazing point. And he was talking about how, in the new era, there are so many super fans that just making it on the show feels like the achievement. And then it's like, whatever I do, and it's so journey based. We've spoken about this. It's journey based in the show, and it's journey based in like their actual life journey. And I see it all the time. Like I see it now on Twitter, like, Final 5, Christina's tweeting. And I'm like, for me, it's like, what's the point of getting to Final 5 with 0 win equity? I'd rather go out in a blaze of glory at 8, at 7, So for Rizzo to be like, I don't care if he's playing to win and not playing for, but I made it to day X. I respect that a lot, because I think the other viewpoint is really frustrating me.
When did this become a thing that, you can just loose and goosely tweet about your season throughout? I agree. I don't remember it. I mean, like I say, it's maybe one of those things where it's kind of like a very slowly shifting baseline. Now, as somebody who's not on Twitter that much, I go on Twitter twice a year, and that's to retweet that I'm podcasting with you. But when did this become a thing? That when we were on the show, like if you just open your Twitter account, like the people at Emmett were like, "Yo, bro, put your phone down," So, and I remember in earlier seasons, like they were quite strict about what you could or couldn't say. I just want to know, when did it become this unmonitored from, I don't know if it's CBS or the production company or whatever, and I don't want to, that's why I don't read too much. That's why I don't do it, because a lot of the times you can get a lot of subtext by what people are saying. Like, oh, this person really did X, Y, Z. And you're like, but you haven't played with them. And then you realize, oh, okay, they're only going to spend some time on the jury, whatever. So I just want to know when this happened, because I can't remember people being this active on Twitter about a season.
No, it's every season. I don't think that CBS wants it, but to be fair, they also like put people on 50, and like that was the most you could read into anything. So it would be highly hypocritical, I think, at this point for them to be like, but the season is sacred. And we should talk about this because Sophie tweeted to defend her move. Let's talk about Sophie's move a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about
it. To steal the vote block. I mean, I'm in physical pain. I'm in physical pain. Like, at a point, you have to blame the margaritas that she told them about the knowledge is power. It hurt my heart. It was as painful as advertised when we kind of spoke about last week about whether she'd do that, because Miles came in a few weeks ago and was like, if Sophie can just get to the point where she steals Rizzo's idol, I was like, oh, that's a really fun move. And that's probably a game-winning move. Like, that is the thing that she needs to be really flashy. Actually, the fact that, like, Sage is so ready to sit next to Sophie above, like, a Steven or a Rizzo shows how much she needs this move. So when she told them that she had knowledge is power, yeah, I mean, I think that I just was, like, watching myself watch it, being like, why? And then she steals the vote block. And it's not about the fact that the steal of the vote block didn't work. Like, I don't need her to know the order of operations. I need them all to know that an idol is good till 5. But I don't need them to know the order of operations and it's the fact that she didn't know that her game, relied on the flashiness of taking Rizzo's big idol. You know, like, there's been conversation around it. I don't care how much the jury care about it. It's been a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, whether, like, I think especially if they're down on Rizzo, they probably enjoy that. And also it gives her safety through 5. Because now they're voting out Steven. I mean, if they were going for her and Rizzo, which they weren't, and she knew that it was a Hina, it was a unanimous vote with Hina on Steven. But even if they're going for her at that point, they changed to Rizzo. We know the precedent. The precedent is they don't vote with the person with idols. They're terrified to do it. So then at that point, Rizzo would go home. But we know that Steven would go home anyway, which is fine. Now, Rizzo doesn't have an idol. You freed up yourself for Rizzo to go next. Steven goes anyway. You have this big move. It looks good. And you're safe next time? Where is the downside? Like, how... Do you have any... Why did Sophie do this? She explained it. We'll talk about the tweets.
I don't read the tweet, but you can unpack it off the bat. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where, and this is something, again, from our season, I mean, this has been said like a million times on podcasts, but you only get an edited version of the show, right?
No.
And a lot of people on our season, I want to talk about my season, Shannon, not this season. A lot of people on our season were saying, like, afterwards, people were like, bro, like, how did you even consider voting for Nicole? Like, she was such, like, and blah, blah, blah. But 4 of the 10 people voted for, or 4 of the 10 voted for her, right? So from the vantage point in the game, it wasn't clear how dominant the game Rob was playing, and people had better relationship with Nicole. So that's why it happened. Now, similarly, from this, it's very difficult to gauge from the vantage points of the players. And I think this is one of the things that Steven always says, like, every person is the hero of their own season, right? So it's very difficult to gauge objectively while you're playing how you are being perceived by the other players, how you're being perceived by the jury, how you're being perceived by the viewers. So saying on the couch is saying, well, it's obviously this person is not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. But when you're in it, you kind of feel like you're doing a lot of things and you're moving the game forwards and you're still there with 5 people left. Maybe you've been the brain behind all operations and people haven't noticed it. So I give players more slack about saying, you cannot beat person X, Y, and Z. I mean, if it's like a super physical threat and like they win everything, it's very clear, and then you're the person who takes them out, then I think that's kind of how Adam won his season. He just took out the biggest threat. I got 5-4 in game, and then I took out the biggest threat. So by proxy, I'm the biggest threat left in 3, the 3 people in the game. So I'm slightly less inclined to judge players harshly if they don't fully understand or fully comprehend the threat level and the winner equity they have at any point in the game. So that's the only defense I will say against speaking.
Counterpoints to that. Firstly, all of that is a misread, and misread should be criticized. There are players like Adam who had extreme skill, even Sage, in knowing where they sit. Yeah. And that's a skill. That's a skill that I credit. You know, if people don't know where they sit with the jury, it's a damning misstep. And it's one of the things to criticize the most. Most of Survivor is read. That's the bad read. If you don't have good self-perception, you don't have good game awareness, you can't judge. And it's hard to judge a jury. They're not there. But if you can't judge that correctly, you should lose for that. You know, like that's a core part of the game, and it seeps into other parts of the game. And if you can't see it, that's what I'm criticizing. That's exactly what I'm criticizing. The second part is that Sophie knows. Sophie said it. Of all the people, actually, she at the beginning of this episode said, I don't want to sit with Savannah and Rizzo. She says both. And I need a flashy move to beat them. Agreed. That's why it was so painful, is because she's not in confessional saying, I think I can take him. And we'd say, well, that's not how everyone else feels. Seemingly, that's a misread, and I would criticize that. She actually gets that part right, and then seemingly is brought back by the emotion of being brought on this $1 million Mexican feast at the sanctuary. It's not even that good a reward. And it seemed to be in the emotion.
What's wrong with tacos as a reward?
It's not worth $1 million. That's what, I mean, I love Mexican food. It wasn't $1 million. Like, I think I'm critical of it because, again, we've seen the best players make move when they need to. I will go back to Marianne. She cut Omar. They're very, very close. They're very close in real life. Like, and she had to make a big move. And did she sit around? Like, I don't even remember. Did she sit around? I can't imagine that she was like, should I love him. Like, she just did it, you know? And I credit that more and more because I think it's underrated because so many people really struggle with it. But to you know, talk about what Sophie actually said on Twitter. She said it was a planned unanimous vote, that they knew they were all voting for Steven. Steven was the next biggest threat after Savannah. If Savannah had not won immunity, she would have stolen the idol. I have a few things on this. Firstly, a lot of this is actually a little difficult to believe. It's not how Rizzo acts in the voting booth. Obviously, he and Savannah seem to really think they've lost, but I guess they might have thought they'd lost because they might have thought they were being played once the block of vote doesn't work. So that maybe, but also she told Savannah and Rizzo before the immunity challenge. So even if it was like, well, if she lost immunity, I would have stolen the idol. It's like, but you gave them that leverage that they may have read. So even that is concerning. And then she also does say in confessional, she doesn't want to sit next to either of them. So she also says in confessional that, but then she changes in confessional at the reward to be like, this solidifies us as a 3. So I think she was between a lot of different things. Some of that's quite hard to believe, but I will say as well, it's even assuming that's correct, that explanation to me makes no sense. Like, now you're stealing an unnecessary vote block in what you know will be a unanimous vote. It won't even look good. Well, it was a 4-1. It would have been a 5-0. Like, what does that do? If that's what it is, and Steven, again, was going to go, and it wasn't like, well, the other side are maybe then going to, like, vote for me, and if I take the idol, maybe they'll vote for Rizzo. If Steven's going to go, that actually seems even better based on the threat level we know that Steven has. So at that point, you're kind of shoring up with your best 3, which is Sage and Christina. You are stealing the idol. You are voting out Steven. You are going to a 5 where one of Rizzo, or definitely Rizzo, and maybe also Savannah will be vulnerable. That's the pathway. And then you go, you know, to the 3 with them, and you're safe at 5. And that's looked way better for a jury. So I actually kind of feel like I understand this less if you thought it was going to be a unanimous vote. Like, definitely shore up with Sage and Christina. Definitely take out a threat like Steven and, like, get the idol for yourself and weaken Rizzo and make him an option next time. Like, what am I missing here? Because she explained it and I'm still, what am I missing?
Yeah, I'm also slightly confused. I mean, it's very easy to, we'll say that. But I do agree with you on the point that I always say this. said it earlier about Rosa saying, I'd rather go out at 9 and lose than not win. So I always say play to win, baby. That's what you got to do. So if she's in a position, I mean, didn't Jessie do the same thing? Like snake his ally with like 5 people left in the game.
Yeah, loved it.
So I think this was the point. I mean, I know like we want to get our through to the end, but like you say, but I think this is like, again, rather make the move and lose than don't make it and lose anyway. So I think that was a good opportunity to do it. And like you say, if you take the idol, you're still safe. You can get to 5 and get to 4, and then you can sit at the end and say, guys, everybody was lying around Rosa's idol. I'm the one who took it. I took it out of the game. Blah blah blah. So I do think there was that. I think the counterpoint is. I think Sophie's been in a position where very early on, like the tribe got decimated. They've got, I mean, they lost Jake, and then she lost another ally in Jeremiah, who I think she wanted to play with, but they had to go to a tribal with only the 3 of them. So I think she's been very kind of looking for allies all the time, and now like she finally found a safe haven and people who wanted to play with her.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of that's sometimes difficult to bridge that emotional versus logical. Like, these people threw me a lifeline for so long. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you take the logic out of the equation, you think about it from a human perspective, she might just say, guys, these people saved me so many times. I wouldn't have been here without them. I don't want to, take the idol now. That's just not going to be good to my allies. That might be her argument. And she might say, well, then my way to the end is to saying I played a loyal game with the people I had my back against the wall at all times. That's my pitch. Whether it won't work or not, I don't know. But I think she might think that whilst doing that and then stealing an ally's idol at this last point in time makes me look like a cutthroat player, which wasn't really my brand of Survivor. Do I really want to do it? Do I want to taint the kind of I never did anything bad, but I got here kind of angle? So that might be a rationale. I'm hypothesizing now, but I think that might be why she was in that mindset of not wanting to steal Rosa's vote with at this point in time.
I mean, I think it's very emotional, which is obviously, again, like a criticism. I think if she's reading, wanting to be a loyal player, I don't think that plays for this jury, which I do think is kind of a weird jury because they seem very like gamey. I think there's a lot on like challenge, but they don't seem to be loving what Rizzo's doing, which is like hyper gamey. I think there'll be a hard jury to predict, but I don't think that loyalty is a good argument. I just think it's hard because, she kept knowledge of power secret for so long. Like that was the whole, like she had such a weapon. Like she had, and Rizzo would have never expected knowledge is power. And it was there for the taking. I think it would have gone off with the jury. Like whether if they're impressed by Rizzo's idol, it's like, wow, you did that. And if they're not loving Rizzo's idol, it's like, thank you. Like there's no way that can kind of go poorly. And like I have to look at, like a winner like Marianne who was saved by Oma through the whole merge. Like, she relied on that in her positioning. Oma was her guardian angel. He definitely was. And she didn't care. Like at the point where it came to the fact that he was going to beat her, she cut it and she cut him and the jury respected it. And I think things like this do feel really cut and dry. There are complicated decisions on Survivor. And this is just not one of them to me, even with the explanation. If Steven was a bigger threat than Rizzo, great. Send him home. Looks like that was happening anyway. And then have an idol and have Rizzo be able to go next time. Because now what will happen next time is if Savannah wins immunity, Rizzo will be safe, and Sage will probably...
She probably thought if she steals the idol, she has to use it because it's only valid until 6.
That would be very Hina coded, Like, no, I think she said she knew it was till 5. If she believed it was till 6, then she's getting outplayed. Either way, then you're, I guess, at least safe here, But like, I think that you should know you can have that implicit immunity here that Rizzo has used. And you also know you have the votes. Like she actually actively knew that Steven was getting voted out, so she really didn't need it here. They have those 3 votes. Savannah's vote would be blocked. And they're 3. Even if Rizzo's like trying to go for her there, she has a 3 that are voting out Steven. And it means that she just can take out Rizzo if Savannah wins immunity, which now she can't. And I think she really needs Sage in the game. And I think Sage is in a really, really tricky spot at 5. So, it's that difference where like, for Rizzo to go out of his way to keep the idol, he has Savannah as a shield. Like, he's keeping that idol in case Savannah wins immunity. And I agree with that. Like, I think that, and obviously, like, you know, Sophie as well might be with them. They could have a majority, but he's letting Sophie go to keep the idol to get to fire. Sophie might turn on them at 5. I think she would. So he's relying on an idol over his ally in Sophie, who's kind of in between it, to get through the final 4. And I agree with that. And it's really, again, without having Savannah as a shield. She needs to win, and he's still investing on taking that bet of holding the idol now and putting himself at risk. And I think that that's brave and correct. You know, so I think that they all kind of have to be operating under the assumption of, what if Savannah wins? What are we going to do? What are we going to do if Rizzo has the idol and Savannah wins? That's my, and you know, for Sage as well, she's also relying, Sophie may go back. Sophie's, again, been quite emotional. Even if Savannah doesn't win, and she's allowed that now with Steven going, but like, even if Savannah doesn't win, Sophie, Savannah, and Rizzo could vote her out. So there's a lot of concerns compared to, like, if Rizzo's gone, she has Steven, and then, yeah, whoever doesn't win of Steven and Savannah, they're basically, she and Christina are like swing votes between, because Savannah and Steven would be on opposite sides of that. So, yeah, they're just, I just don't, yeah, I don't know that a lot of this is defensible. Like, I think that I understand for them that it probably is. Rizzo isn't as much of a jury threat as we think. Rizzo's not an immunity threat as much as like a Steven. And I still think the idol makes that way too tricky here.
Yeah. A question about Savannah. We haven't spoken about too much. I thought, like, up until, let's say, 2 episodes ago, I thought like it was going to be Sophie who's going to win.
I also did, to be honest.
I think it was going to be like, it was ramping up for a Sophie win. But now with kind of the misplay of knowledge is power, I feel like it's, you know, you've lost a lot of social capital and it doesn't look good. And now I'm thinking maybe Savannah just wins out, you know, at 5 and at 4, just at the end, and being like, guys, I absolutely dominated you guys. And yeah, I mean, she was kind of spearing, like in the beginning, the Uli Hina war, they got out on top, and then she was the personal, that one person. I mean, again, I'm hypothesizing, but I think it's very difficult for anybody left in the game to outmaneuver Savannah at this point in time. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if you have any thoughts on her, you know, towards the end. You think, let's say she wins. She wins at 5 and she wins at 4, and she's just at the end. Do you think just winning out the challenges is enough to, if she sit next to whoever? Do you think there's somebody who can beat her?
No, definitely with Steven gone. I think she was ahead anyway. I think that she does need to win out, and I think she's highly likely to, given that Steven and Sophie, the first Sophie, were such big immunity threats. I think people will be impressed by that. Again, I think this jury seems to like that. I think it's been a big thing that makes people a threat. Like, it's obviously was a big thing for Sophie and Steven to go. Yeah, I think that Savannah has done very well. I thought this was a good episode for her. Obviously winning both challenges. I think the reward choices were great. You know, keeping Sophie with her, who she might have been reading as a bit of a flight risk, or whatever instinctively made her keep Sophie on this long reward and overnight reward, a lot of time with just her and her ally, and really locking in with that on this like emotional reward seemed to really be the right move. And yeah, I think that you can't divorce her physical prowess from how it has been important strategically. Like, Rizzo has had the idol and he's not been an option through that. And Savannah, who has been a bigger target and a bigger threat, has protected herself and thus her group many times, because they've made the mistake of saying, well, Savannah's off the table, I have bigger fish to fry, which they didn't.
They did vote for a couple times, right? She has gotten a lot of votes throughout the season, has she not? Sage has been gunning for a long time. Christina's been trying to get her out a long time, so she has received a lot of votes, has she not?
I mean, there's been a lot of unanimous votes. So even if he's been getting votes, they've been, you know, from people on the way out. There's never been these huge contingents going for her. And then the thing that for me, it's not even about the votes she's getting. I'd have to look at it. But for me, it's about when she wins the challenge and can't be voted for, they go for another option that benefits her.
Yeah, that's true.
And I mean, a lot of that might be unforced errors. But That's very important. Even this, like, I have to give the credit because last week I said, well, Steven with the vote block should have a 66% chance if it's going to be group v group, but not if Savannah wins immunity, which is, again, always a really good bet. You have to be looking at the final 5, looking at if she wins immunity, and then she's going to have, I don't know her fire abilities, but then she's going to have the final 4. So I do think that she can go with anyone. I think she could comfortably take Rizzo to the end, and even that might look bad for Rizzo, and that would be fine. I think that everyone needs to turn on her when available, including Rizzo. I don't know if he'll be able to because I think she'll probably be immune. I kind of feel like also Sophie might do it, so the decision might be made for him. But if he was in a swing vote position where Sophie goes back to Savannah, and who knows what Sophie will do, I think Rizzo really needs to turn on Savannah at this final 5 if he can, because he's through, he's immune, he's through to final 4. Again, Savannah winning and taking him isn't even that good for him. Like, I think he needs to sit with the fact that he's making fire, regardless. So he might as well be making fire to get into a final 3 that doesn't include Savannah. And I think that would be a good bet for him compared to, again, the way people talk about Christina, the move that Sophie just had, and also the way people just seem to not be seeing what Sophie's been doing and seeing her as a bit of a number. And yeah, the way that people seem to react to Sage as well and not really take her seriously. Like, as much as you can discredit how the jury might look at Rizzo and the showboating and not love it, I think it's still above the way that Sophie, Christina, and Sage seem to be perceived. So I think he needs to take out Savannah. Whether he can, I doubt it. Whether he, again, needs to, and then it's not happening anyway, probably not. This is probably pretty hypothetical. But yeah, I think Savannah's kind of got that on lock. What do you think?
No, I agree. And I think, ironically, I think one of Savannah's saving graces has been that one of her closest allies, Rizzo, has this idol, because it created, like, if she doesn't win, she wins out, like, every second episode. And then the times where she doesn't win, it's this mirage of the idol and what's going to happen. And then somehow the vote lands on somebody else, where they can't take the shot. So I do agree with you. I mean,
they can take the shot. They don't.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, they could, but they don't. Yeah.
I think Rizzo will probably. I think he's going to lose in fire making. That's my project.
Yeah.
My
we're narratively going there. It really does.
My prophetic insight. I think because they've shown a couple of times, like when he was chasing the chicken, he's like, oh, I have no idea. I'm so out of my depth. I've never been outdoorsy, whatever. So I think there's maybe just a little bit of the foreshadowing that he's not as adept at and there was this thing where he was going fishing. Remember there was an early episode where he put on the thing and like he didn't even make it to the water, fell in down and said, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm the Aussie. So I think it's just enough foreshadowing to say, like, guys, I'm out of my element in this fire making, but we'll see. I'm just, like I said, I'm hypothesizing, being prophetic, but yeah, it's it will be an interesting finale, and obviously I think the one person we haven't spoken about is Christina. I think you just mentioned it briefly, that it kind of feels like at this point in time we haven't got any confessionals saying Christina's a threat. She had an idol but didn't really do any damage with it. She was essentially part of the losing Hina squad who couldn't get the upper hand. So it's unfortunate if you're in this position and you don't have like that high winner equity left. But is there a way for her, if she like wins a challenge and makes fire and knocks two people out, do you think there's a way for her to get to the end and tell a compelling story?
I don't. I really don't. Obviously the edit's not there for Christina as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. I think that if you look at like Sage, and like Sage has been again in a tricky jury spot where she could maybe win in the final 3 now with what she did, and Christina, and that's really tough. And it's probably been that way since the merge. And like, that means that that's just a final 3. Like, she's definitely going to fire with someone that could beat her. And that's Sage, who maybe has a chance against Sophie and Christina is like a rung below that. I don't see how she even wins at this, like, what they always call the all hell breaks loose final 3. Like, if it is Sophie, Christina, and Sage, and let's talk it out. I don't think it will be from a narrative standpoint. I don't think it will be from the fact that I think that they'll be the only 3 vulnerable people at 5, likely. So it's not looking good from a game perspective. It's not looking good, I don't think, from an edit perspective. But in a world where this is like the 43 final 3, what do I see? I'd probably put it in the order maybe of like Sophie, Sage, Christina. I think Sophie, there's, has some connections. And I don't think it's a connection-based jury, but like obviously Nate, Rizzo, and Savannah on the jury. Christina, maybe Alex, maybe Steven, but he was closer to Sage. Maybe MC. But I feel like all those players care a lot about gameplay and just the way that they talk about Christina in this episode. Like her allies are saying she's so sloppy. So I don't think that's great. I think Stage obviously definitely has Juwan. I think probably Steven. Sophie.
Yeah, that's a harsh confessional saying she's eating spaghetti with spaghetti on her face. I mean, that was brutal. That was brutal.
Yeah, and that's from an ally. And Sophie didn't like her. So Sophie's, whether she can get past like Sage's revenge or she sees it as a compliment or she might be for the other Sophie. So I think that a lot of that would really depend on how the end game goes. Like in a world where Christina just like dominates and is the person who can be credited with Savannah, if she wins the challenge to take out Savannah and then wins the challenge and puts herself into fire to take out, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe, because that's a really difficult final three. Some fun characters, like Sophie, and Sage has been amazing. But yeah, if one of those three wins, it would be some of the worst gameplay we've seen from a winner. But yeah, if that's like very even, the way that like Gabler in that final three configuration really needed like an end game that they could credit, maybe that's Christina. I think it would take a lot with skills we have not yet seen, especially because a lot of it would be very physical, I think, to like really beat Savannah physically. No, I always say I'll never give someone 0% chance of winning the game, but like for sure. I mean, I'm barely giving Sophie and Sage that. And we can talk about percentages, but like, I don't know how much anyone but Savannah has on percentages to win the game at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do agree with that. I was just asking the question to kind of get your take. It's interesting about, so I'll tell you this. It's been very difficult, but I've managed to avoid seeing who was on season 50 from this cast.
Maybe we should talk about it. I know we kind of half mentioned it, but we try not to.
I know. I avoided until like 3 episodes ago. So I purposefully avoided it. But I will say this, and I went back and checked just for this. There's a lot of people saying, I saw some tweets when I was like trawling through the when we has now that is Twitter. A lot of people saying, well, there's 2 players in the season who has plot armor that kind of spoils the season because you never get the gray end, blah blah blah. But the last time in Game Changers, there were 2 people from the season who was on the previous season. That was Zeke and Michaela. Zeke went out at 9, and Michaela didn't even make the merge. So saying
Game Changers was a very disparate cast.
Well, we know that now after watching the season, but at that point in time, with all the information you had, you would have thought these 2 people must have, if before it was announced, I thought these 2 people were going to be insane. They were going to absolutely be number 1 and 2, and they were number 9 and 14. So I'm just saying. But now, so my point is, what I'm trying to make is, in the beginning of the season, like I purposely avoided it, so I didn't know who had plot armor and who didn't. Even if you did, it wasn't a guarantee that we were going to get this close to the end. But now, seeing, and even just by the confessional count and the stories we've gotten about them, I really kind of think, like you say, it's probably. I've actually seen a lot about Sage, to be honest. We've heard a lot of random things about her life mentioned throughout. So, yeah, and I think of the top 5 or top 6 we have, I think probably Christina's the least fleshed out of the others, of the 6. But the other 5, maybe Steven also. But I mean, for 5 left in the game, I think we've seen a lot about Sage, both Rizzo, Sophie, and Savannah. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, but Hina always felt like the opposition. Like this was not Hina's story. It never was. Steven, we got more of. Christina, we haven't had that much of. Sophie came out of nowhere to be so controlling. I think, as many of the issues have been in the edit and possibly in like some of the different casting, because Hina are just such a different tribe to Uli. Like Uli are fireworks, and I feel like Hina are just really, not fireworks necessarily. So I feel like, they're more conservative. So that's kind of where the edit had to go. Yeah, I mean, I can talk about like the 50 stuff next week. 50 is not as disparate a cast as Game Changers. Game Changers had Caleb, you know, he was like a 3rd episode boot. Medivac.
Wasn't he Medivac?
Yeah. So yeah. And I mean, I guess I'll talk about it next week, but I wasn't as locked in, I guess, to this kind of stuff. Like, I was thinking about it like, yeah, people knew that Malcolm was back to back on Caramoa and it would spoil that he didn't win on fans versus favorites, but like I wasn't tapped in at the time.
Yeah.
But we can talk about it next week. But yeah, what percentages would you give? What are your percentages for next week on like editing gameplay for everyone?
Percentage is difficult, but you have to kind of
thereabouts. I mean, I
get
struggle.
it to 100. Get it to 100. That's the difficult part. I would say
Savannah.
I would say, I don't know, 60% Savannah, 25% Rizzo. What's it? 60 plus 25, that's 85. 10% Sophie. No, sorry, with Sage as well. This is difficult. Like you say, you can't give somebody 0%. It's always a 1% chance.
Can you not? You know, is Christina winning the game?
I mean, mathematically, let's say, yeah, mathematically it's possible. So okay, let's just name it. I'm gonna write this down. So I'll do I'll do the math. I'll say 1% Christina, and I'll say 9% Sage. That gives us 10 on this side of the equation. Okay, now we have 90%, which gives us Savannah 60, Rizzo 20, and Sophie 10. So that's 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Yeah, that's fine.
Wait, what was it? 60 Savannah?
60 Savannah, 20 Rizzo, 10 Sophie, 9 Sage, 1 Christina.
Yeah. See, my thing was I'm going to split like a percentage between Sage and Sophie mostly, and I guess a little bit of Christina. Like, I don't know how I can give them more than 1%. Maybe I should give them 5. 5 between the 3 of them, like a 3 to Sage, honestly. I honestly think Sage is looking better than Sophie now. 3 to Sage, 1.5 to Sophie, like half to Christina. Because my thing is like, they do need to get there in that 3. And that seems so unlikely. Like, Rizzo's definitely immune next.
How much rugby do you watch, Shannon?
Chance to win challenges.
How much Australian rugby do you watch?
None.
0. Don't watch any rugby?
No.
Do you know the basics of rugby?
No.
Do you not know the basics of rugby? Do you know
that
do you know that Australia is like at the moment not very good and South Africa is like unstoppable?
No.
Do you know that?
No.
Okay. There was a test match 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. South Africa played Australia, and South Africa were ahead 20-0 against Australia. Okay, which is a lot in rugby. And then Australia won the game.
Yeah.
Now, at that point in time, if you ask somebody, what's the chances of Australia, a mid-tier rugby team at the moment, beating South Africa, who's won the World Cup back-to-back with an insane team, nobody would have given them more than 0.1% at that point in time. If you like polled the whole world who knows anything about rugby, and yet Australia won. So
yeah, I had that.
It is
that
possible.
Was Gabler. Like, yeah, I gave Gabler 0% chance of winning the game. He won the game.
There we go. It can happen.
It can happen. This isn't like this is, and I've seen it in Australian football. You know, like I've seen it. I think Sydney were 19 points down with like 2 minutes to go. My dad's friend went home, and then he had to like be like, "We won," for sure. But we are in like the last few minutes of the game. Like, we've watched the game play out, and we've also, to be fair, the difference is we have the edit. It's hard to remove the edit from it, let alone anything about Survivor 50. But it's hard because even with Gabler, like, Jessie wasn't a great challenge competitor. You know, like, Savannah can get it done. We don't know about Fire, and that's the big question mark. We know that Rizzo will be immune. We have all of these, like, known quantities where it would take Savannah losing the challenge and being voted out. Yeah, and then Rizzo not being able to do the challenge of Fire, which may be possible, and then one of the 3. Okay, so fine. So they can split 10% on that happening. And I would give it like 5 Sage, because I actually think like at least Sage kind of seems to know what her pathway should be, and I think is self-aware enough to articulate it well, whereas Sophie's story is now so messy, and that moment in front of the jury was so bad that I think I'd give like maybe Sage 5, Sophie 4, Christina 1, who knows. It's probably a bit overstated, but sure. And then I think maybe I'll give Savannah 75, or 70.
Okay.
And Rizzo, give Rizzo the 20 then. Or maybe 15 to 20, 75, 15. I don't know, because Rizzo is immune next, which is good. And then he has the double chance, but he's not great at challenges at 4. And he needs to get rid of Savannah. It's like he needs to get through there without Savannah. Like, it's a tricky path.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like what it was when 47. Like, Rachel was in the pound seat. She was going to beat anyone. And I think we'd already seen the final 5 votes. So that was like one step, forward, obviously. And she was like just really like good at challenges and stuff. So we just felt like the odds of her losing both rounds of 4 felt very low. And then I felt like she'd beat anyone. And Savannah has that, but one more challenge to do. But she's been so good at challenges that she's taken out her biggest challenge competitors.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just the last thing to kind of cement what you're saying. I think I saw this on Rob's fact checker that Christina's now she's the second most under-edited person in the final 5 since ever of 41. Just by confessional count. So that's quite damning.
I think what's going to happen is Savannah's going to win the challenge. Sage will go. Because there'll be nothing they can do. Rizzo will be immune with the idol. And then I think Savannah will win the challenge and maybe take like Sophie. I actually don't think she'll take Rizzo, but she could. And then I think maybe like Rizzo Christina, or like I think I see Christina kind of getting 0 votes. So maybe Christina goes in fire. I could see either way. And then Savannah will win. That's kind of how I see it. You said we've spoken about everyone, but we didn't actually speak about Steven. I'd love to talk about Steven. Did Steven do anything wrong here, or was he a victim of his allies, as Miles said many weeks ago? He called it. Steven's allies, what are you doing? And Steven suffers for it. Like, is there something Steven could have done here, or did Steven actually do the right thing here?
No, I think, it's interesting because, like I say, Steven is a very, no disrespect. It's like a bit of a Joe everybody. I mean, he's a rocket scientist, so that doesn't make a Joe anybody at all. I mean, at least he's like, should be highly intelligent to be a rocket scientist. But in terms of kind of like, he wasn't like a super beefy guy. He wasn't like super sociable. He wasn't like super strategic from what we saw. So I think like with that type of person to get to the end, you need like really good allies who can draw like these lightning rods beside you that you can just march through and they catch all the lightning. And I think he didn't have that. I think he's a casualty of the war going south of them. I think obviously with this voter block, it's just bizarre that it kind of like you have that with final 5 and somehow you still lose. But I think everybody targeted him because I said he had very high win equity at that point in time. They were big jury threat. So obviously I think he was maybe just too well liked. Ironically. But no, I think he was maybe just, I mean, how many times people said this in Survivor, there's just as much luck as there is, skill to it. It's, at some point in time, it's just the things don't fall in your way or your allies you don't get split into the wrong group. I think losing MC for them early on in the merge kind of hurt them because I think she could have potentially won 1 or 2 challenges. And she had the idol, which was misplayed, but had things gone the other way, she stayed in, she didn't play her idol, they started winning challenges, then MC's like a big physical threat, and her out, then then I think things go different for him. So I think he needed that one type of big, massive, not a shield, but person just cause chaos in the mix, which he didn't have, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely stifled here by Rizzo not being able to be a target. And again, they all have to wear that they didn't like flush the idol, that they restricted themselves when it was so doable. I mean, he wasn't there with MC. He wasn't leading it on Alex. Last week was really the thing. But again, I kind of put that on Sage. So it has been really tough. I do think maybe he seemed to fall for the fact that the idol couldn't be used till now. And I'm really harsh on everyone that wasn't questioning that.
I'm acutely aware after this discussion now.
Yeah, so maybe if he'd been, again, more discerning of that, and I think he said in his ex interviews, he was like, I didn't recognize how much people didn't want to sit next to me. He gave them a target in Sophie, which honestly is a bad target for them, right? Like that, maybe he should read like they wouldn't want to do that from a jury perspective. I think it's logical if you're reading logic into that. Maybe he should be going to them and offering Rizzo. Again, I'm the one going on the bounce back. Let's take the shot at Rizzo and see how it goes. And maybe he can lead the horse to water. But then again, they could have split without him even doing that, and they didn't. So I don't know. But I think it is, maybe he should have seen, like, if I'm the biggest vulnerable threat left with, I mean, Rizzo seems like a lesser threat. And Savannah is immune. What can I do? Can I offer them a juicier target than Sophie, even in the fear of Rizzo? But he thought Rizzo was immune. So he was being played a little bit. But I still think that this is all pretty minor. I really don't think I can't be nearly as angry at the person who went home as half of the rest of them who did not. So we can probably talk about that in the Chizzy. I wanted to talk about one other thing before we go to the Chizzy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, but I saw it in an interview that Mike put up, Mike Bloom on Parade, that Jeff was talking about the loved ones letters. I'd love your take as a player, because Jeff said, he's like, some players have said that the letters are even more powerful than a loved one's visit.
Listen, I saw like a tweet, somebody saying, loved ones, loved ones letters, blah, blah, blah. Do you think, I mean, okay, let's how many seasons of Survivor have there been? I mean, like what, 49, like Australia or US Survivor seasons alone. If you're at that point in time and Jeff talks about loved one letters and then people started crying and all of that and they get like super emotional, do you think like all those people are being paid to be emotional? So I think I'm quite down on people who haven't been there, who don't understand what it's like to live in like such shitty conditions. I mean, it was raining, all of that stuff for such a long time, and then you have it. I mean, it's very easy now. You can just go on WhatsApp and talk to somebody on the other side of the world. But if you're there, that's really insane. And if you remember our season, like I think there was a chance you could choose between. There was one challenge you could choose like a loved one's letter or food or go to the Island of Secrets, and I think like the majority of people chose a letter, like even more than food. That all these things, like all these players aren't wrong. At that point,
no, of course, but he's not saying that. He's saying that it's more powerful than your loved ones coming there.
No, that I think the loved ones coming there is obviously more powerful.
Yeah, well, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, so I'm it's two things. The first thing, I'm going on a rant on people who are saying, "Oh, it doesn't add a lot. Why do you want your loved one to visit?" Blah blah blah. I mean, go and do it. Go walk out in the park and get a thorn in your foot, and then you're like, "Oh shit, I need to pay for my mom to come and help me." So that's the first bit. That it's more powerful than seeing your people. I would obviously say that having a person there is obviously a lot bigger deal. They haven't done it once in the new era. I don't know why. Maybe
it was COVID originally, and then
originally, but I think it's just the expense, right? I mean,
that's very upsetting, to be honest. Like the fact that it's the expense is so upsetting, because it's like it's a couple. I mean, I'm not like the accountant, but like it's a few flights to Fiji. If we can't like, invest in that, that's upsetting. And the most upsetting thing about it is that the international versions always very committed to the loved ones version. To the loved ones visit. We're way lower budget internationally. Like for me, it's like also I think the letters are great. Like for me, I know, like I would cry after a couple of days for a letter. Like and I'm a words of affirmation person, so like I would love letters. I just think firstly you can do both. Like do loved ones at like the split tribal, do the letters, and then have loved ones at 6. But for Jeff to say that it's more powerful, it's definitely a budget thing that he's saying. He's not fooling anyone. of course, loved ones actually coming. Like, I mean, it's nice to see the letters, but I off the top of my head, I have no memorable letter moment. Whereas I have, a dozen memorable loved ones moments. Like, that's an institution. That was like, the dead grandma was the loved one's visit. So I think that's crazy. But the most worrying,
the loved one visit that's like the most prominent in my mind. Do you remember Nora? Like her sister came and she just like ran out of, like, she just like slapped, like she ran full speed and like knocked her sister like almost unconscious. That was so bizarre. She was like boom, boom. I remember it so vividly.
Actually, the letter that probably stands out to me is Josh in Blood versus Water in Australia being told that his wife was pregnant after a lot of infertility. That's actually memorable, but other than that, I mean, I remember like Jeremy like finding out the gender of his baby and in Cambodia. That's like, I remember watching that as like a preview at work and crying. Like the loved ones is like an institution of the show. Like I wish that Jeff was as romantic about the history of the show as I am. I'm like that. When I watch old school seasons, I look forward to that episode every season. I remember
when Adam had the still advantage, and then I think he told.
Of course.
And then he told Jay like he's not going to use it, and then Jay was like crying. He's like, Adam could have used it, but he didn't use it, so he's taking him. That was like so intense.
I mean, but the thing that worries me the most about what Jeff said is he was like, players say that it's as powerful. I'm like, firstly, no, they don't.
No.
Secondly, they don't even know what they would be comparing that to. Even if a player did say that, they didn't have a loved one's visit. They're a new era player.
If you didn't have both, you have to call the people who've had both and be like, okay, shoot. Get the sample size of people who've experienced both experiences. That's the only way you can
exactly, and you can do both. Thirdly, you can do both. And the most important thing, fourthly, is that Jeff said the players say it's more powerful. And I said, who cares what the players say? Like, it's not a show being made for 18 people. And I think Jeff has said we're making it for the players. It is not an amusement park that they've won tickets to like Willy Wonka. It is a show for viewers, and I'm a viewer, and I think most viewers would say the loved one's visit is a lot more memorable than the letters. Why do you care what the players are saying, Jeff? Why are you even citing that as a reason the production would make a decision? It's clearly economic, which is again sad because it's like a family trip to Fiji. But also, why is it about what the players think?
I agree with you so much.
Yeah, it's.
I don't want to hash it. I don't want to unhash this now, and probably not the right person to say this, but there were decisions made that they put the ball in the players' hands and said, do you think we should still be doing X, Y, and Z at this point in time? And they've given that choice to a small number of people on the island. I think that was so bad from production. They should either have said, in the current climate of the world, we think these things are no longer appropriate, or we want to be more, whatever, inclusive, so we're doing X, Y, Z. We're telling you now. Or they should have said, we are going to poll all 500 people who've played Survivor to get the inputs. We're going to phone them up or send them a Google form to give us their feedback on how they experienced it, but asking a small handful of people to make changes to staples that have been in the game for a long time without consulting anybody else. That was just so bizarre for me. I can't even imagine they did it. That was like one of my big lows.
It was very unfair to the players as well, because the thing is that the stuff shouldn't be on the players. The Australian Survivor will do the opposite. Like, Australian Survivor will be like too lack of caring about the players' experience to the point where, like, again, like to the point of like emotional negligence. Like, we don't care if you're not entertaining, your experience matters so little that you're not getting a confessional, and then people like really mentally struggle with that, and probably isn't as good for the show. I mean, I guess if they're not entertaining, like, it's basically like own being on the show. Like, you are here as cast members. We're not here for you to like have your experience told on the show. And I think that in some ways that makes the show worse, because it like, blows out edits and like you can read into things. But in some ways, obviously it makes it better, because if people aren't delivering, then they don't get shown. We don't get as much boring content, and people know to be entertaining. I don't think that it should come at the expense of players. Like, again, Australian Survivor will be like, crazy twist in the first episode. You spend a day and a half here, Phil and Brains v. Brawn, and you're out. Like, that's a terrible experience for anyone. And again, it is like, I think pretty emotionally taxing. Imagine waiting a year through COVID to play and then you have a massive twist. It wasn't even good TV, but you know what I mean? But they were like, we don't care about you. We're not here to please you. We are here to make a TV show. And while I think they probably go too far on it with things like that, it is, to be fair, the right mentality over, well, the players say this. It's like, you've lost sight of why people are getting letters, Jeff. Like, they're not getting letters so that their experience is better. Like, we're not giving letters to people so that they have such a nice time. We're giving letters to people so that they tell a good story, so that we emotionally connect with them as viewers on the TV show that we are making. This is a filmed product. Like, for me, and I know I'm like going on too much about this. It's like one thing he said on the On Fire podcast, but it's such a concerning line of thought that he gives any credence to what the players think when he's making production decisions. It's a television show. I don't.
On that note, you know that this is the first season of a new era where there hasn't been a shot in the dark blade. You must be ecstatic about that. See
that. No, because I was like, you guys should all be playing shots in the dark. They're all unanimous decisions. How on earth? Anyway, a lot of wasted votes in this season. In like these massive votes where people could probably afford to play shot in the dark and could definitely afford to throw some votes at Rizzo. So just from a gameplay perspective, I was not super into that. But yeah, I mean, again, what is shot in the dark? Is it because then people won't blindside, and that's good, okay? I mean, people will definitely have to blindside, or is it about, we just want you to have another chance? We just want you to have a good time. We're pretty much just a resort here, and we're just trying to have you make sure you give us 5 stars on the way out. Like, why are they worried about their reviews from the players like they're on vacation? Like, what are we doing? What is happening?
The other thing I want to ask you, what's your thought on the block about mechanics that you have to hand it into a producer for it to get played?
It's stupid. Like, like, obviously that was weird. But like, it's also like like, I didn't even think about it. Like, it's really the least of.
I mean, I feel like most advantages you have to either interact with Jeff or interact with a thing like an Island of the Idle Head or a sanctuary place you have to be, or a journey. You have to interact with something and pull a lever or like put your coin into a specific. There's always like this way you have to at least make this weird decision thing. I just felt, and I just felt it was such a strange thing. We're like, I'm now declaring official. It's like, who wants to be there? Like, that's my decision. Final answer.
I was like, if this was an Australian Survivor, this would assure you a confessional, and that's not always a given, you know. Like, so you've won yourself a confessional. Ooh, what is happening? I'm falling. On my chair. It was weird. I mean, I don't really have an issue. Like, people are like, well, how silly that Sophie has to know. I'm like, there's always an order of operations. I mean,
what happens? What happens? Let's say it's a stealer vote. You have to play at tribal, and then Jeff says time to vote. Yeah. And then Rizzo's like, wait, Jeff, I want to say something. And the other one says, I want to say something. Who has precedence to go first? Is the idle play because you put your hand up first, or is it? Remember there was that was it in Winners at War where Jeremy and somebody's like, wait, you go, no, you go.
It was Sarah and Jeremy, I think.
Yeah, and I know you go. So I'm just curious.
He was safe without power, and I think maybe a vote steal.
Yeah, like who goes first if you have the knowledge is power and the idol? Is it like the person who jumps up first?
Well, the idol, the idol.
Do you run into tribal? And then it's a race to whoever gets to get
the idol will always be stolen because the idol's after the votes are cast. See, that's clean to me.
No, you can play it before the votes are cast. I've done it. It's totally legit.
You're not meant to do that. And
you can.
I will always like say that shouldn't have been allowed. But yeah, I mean, I think it should be, obviously the idol's always after the votes are cast as it's written. And then knowledge is power before the votes. The interesting one for me is the votes okay. That's at the same time as knowledge is power.
Wait, if you know the other guy has an idol, as a knowledge is power, and you have an idol, and you have nobody else to give it to, you have to play it. And you want to play it like the moment you walk in, but the other guy wants to steal it the moment he walks in.
No.
Who goes? Should you be able to play it before the vote?
No, the idol is played after the votes are cast. That is.
But if you know the other guys, okay, Shannon, you're on the island.
It doesn't matter. It shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed. It's played after the votes are cast. that is the time that the idol is played.
If you're on the island and Mike Bloom and Rob and Puya and me are coming for you, final 5, you have an idol, you walk in. Yes, you are. We are very we're growing out so much. And Jonathan is there. Well, he's not there, but let's say he's there. And your only way to stay in the game is if you get your idol Jonathan before Puya raises up his hand and says, Jonathan, I have something I want to do. Should you be able to run to Jonathan and give him your idol?
No. The idol is played after the votes are cast.
So you will say, Jonathan, I'm going to fall on my sword because the rules say Puya's going to steal my idol. There's nothing I can do.
You can say, I'd like to play this, and the host should say, you cannot. It can only be played after the votes are cast. This is why there's an order of operations. That's why that's important. It's tricky for things that are played in the same zone. Things like two idols at the same time. We saw this with like Luke and Parvati in AUV World. Things where the votes steal and knowledge is power, which is all in the same thing. Otherwise, yes, that's why you can't say, hey, it's the beginning of the day. Jeff, wherever you are, I'm playing my idol. Like, no, you play it at Tribal after the votes are cast. Otherwise, it's a free-for-all. That's why it's important to have an order of operations. And that makes it clean. Okay, you have this thing, its power might be that it goes before an idol and thus it can be stolen. That makes knowledge of power more powerful. So, yes, that's in the game.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just asking the question. I want to get your thoughts.
I think that you should only be able to play things when it says to play things on the parchment because words have meaning.
Okay.
I don't know what happens if it's like, I want to steal a vote. Well, I want to steal a vote. I don't. At that point, it's annoying because it really is just like who buzzed in first, which is kind of dumb. Yeah.
I say you should season 50, 51, you should be practicing sprints, not endurance.
Well, that's silly.
Whoever gets to Jeff, slam it down on that.
Well, yeah, I think that's really dumb. Like, I think that when I didn't have an issue in this because it was, I mean, the producer thing kind of looked dumb, but whatever. Like, the order of operations was set, and if that's what they want to make a vote block more powerful, like, that was the choice that they made. It's not a very powerful advantage anyway. So honestly, let them have it.
I mean, it splits a deadlock on even numbers, so it should be theoretically good.
Things are very rarely so deadlocked as we saw today. That the one time that actually should have been true, it wasn't. Like, it splits a deadlock, and that's a very specific situation. So once again, these like extra vote block, minor things are tough to be the numerical difference. And here obviously he went home. But let's talk about it in the Chizzy. Take it away, Jacob Sager Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3. 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
What do you have? What are your Chizzy points?
Am I going first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll give him third, second, first. So third place, I will give 1 Chizzy point to Sage. I think, I know we've discussed it in length, but I think if you see her way to the end to win, to sit next to Christina and Sophie, she did get out of a threat, voting out Steven. And also, she was the only one who matched Savannah in the challenge, right? She actually did quite well. So those endurance challenges are really tough. To stand there until she almost collapsed, I think that's good. So I'll give her 1. I will give 2 to Savannah for winning out the challenge again. I think she did a good job. She's been unstoppable. And then I will give 3 to Rizzo. I mean, just kind of almost retrospectively, coming in with 10 people in the game or whatever, everybody knowing about the idol, selling this live and it can be played at 6, and then still having it with 5 people left in the game. Now, forget about the showmanship and how it's perceived. That is a very impressive feat, regardless of anything else. So I will give 3 to Rizzo. So that's my 3 to 1.
Yeah, I'm going to give 3 to Savannah and 2 to Rizzo. I think they both did really good things in this episode. I love Rizzo's lie. I love how he retained the idol. I found that so exciting. I also think like we also see him initially coming to Sage and being like, should we do Steven? And while again, Sage will have her reasons that I disagree with, we talk about this. It's like, is he leading her? Or it's like, well, if it's not in her best interest, is she just leading herself badly? Like, quite probably. But like Rizzo is having that conversation, and like anything he's doing to convince her is a credit, because she should not be convinced. So I love that from Rizzo, but I have to give the 3 points to Savannah, because I think she also did great stuff here. She won 2 challenges. She made the right reward picks, and she is a jury favorite. Like, to have her so much as the favorite to win, to get out a major physical competitor when that's been her domain, and put her in the best physical spot to win. And yeah, the way that the jury seemed to look at Rizzo, I mean, to be fair, when you look at jury reactions, they can show anything. Australian Survivor does that a lot. But that's clearly the impression we're meant to get, and I think it's accurate. It's Steven saying in exits more than anything that the jury isn't loving that as much. So Rizzo has to be penalized for that in a way that Savannah is not. Savannah has really got a real pathway that I think she can capitalize on with skills that we have seen to extremes. And then 1 point, we got a lot of questions from the listeners. How are you going to give Chizzy points? Who will get the 3rd Chizzy point? Yeah, it's going to Steven. Memorial Chizzy point to Steven. He just didn't do much wrong. Like, the worst you can say is that he maybe should have realized his allies didn't want to sit with him and offered Rizzo as a shot, and he should have been more wary of Rizzo's lie and all. And even then, probably not. Steven doesn't have that much to wear on how poorly this has gone. It's gone so badly. But like, is it on him? No. I can't give it to Sage, because I think there's a way better pathway there. I think she's put herself in an extremely bad spot for 5. I like that she knows her 3, but I don't think she's given herself the best pathway to get to that 3. And I think she clearly really fell for Rizzo's lie. She was annoyed about it. How on earth did you think? Anyway, so yeah, so there was just a way better pathway. Christina, I think, is not in a good spot at all. I don't know how this happens for her either. She's the one who's meant to be keeping Sage on side. What happened? And Sophie, I mean, disaster after disaster. It's just she had her winning move and she completely destroyed it. She had it in the palm of her hand. It's more frustrating that she had the capacity and then went in a different direction for something that she's claiming is like, oh, but then I knew that I was going to steal an unnecessary vote block because we knew it was unanimous. Like, knowing that they had the votes on Steven makes it even worse somehow. Like, it's even worse. They shouldn't even have to be worried. It's not even like, well, I was worried I'd have to play the idol. What if they voted for me instead of Rizzo? Like, even then, obviously don't play it. But also, you knew that Steven had the votes. It was a better move. Stealing Rizzo's idol and taking out Steven is actually the perfect move. Man, that would have been great. That would have been so good. Anyway, so none of them can get points, obviously. So Steven's getting a point. Painful.
So what's the score now?
I don't know. It's such a good question. I've used to have the charts, but I'll look at it. I'll try find it. I'll try do the math because okay. What is it? Survivor fact checker. Is this? No, I didn't share it. I actually don't have the charts. My bad. I think Rizzo was winning.
Rizzo winning.
What?
Well, now we got 5. Rizzo and Savannah both got 5. So if he was ahead,
Rizzo will be winning. Savannah, I think, will be second now. I think that's where we're at. Sorry, I didn't save. I actually don't have the Chizzy charts from last week. But I will share this week's on social media, on all my social media, so that we see where we're at. But yeah, Rizzo would be, I don't know how far ahead Rizzo is from, this is terrible podcasting, from Savannah, but Rizzo would be winning. Yeah, I just love what Rizzo does. So I don't think give it a point. It really works for me. Like, and I'm aware that the jury are not loving it, and it's like, that's exactly what I really enjoy.
I mean, we had
the implicit immunity stuff.
Remember Survivor 46, where there was like this whole string of like 3 or 4 people voted out in a row with idols in their pockets. It was just, I mean, the idols had like no impact in the game. This season it's the opposite. It's like, well, I have it. Try and get it. It's like I say, similar to Tony, where it's like, well, you guys can come, but good luck. So that's interesting.
It's not even the opposite, because Hina and Alex were clearly very led by 46. Like, they had just seen 46 and they played the idols very quickly. But Rizzo's the one who's like, I'm actually okay, and I respect it. I really do. And I don't think it's enough to just say he's not a jury threat, because I think it's so much bigger than that. And I don't think he's Xander. I think that he's not what I thought he was from a jury perspective, but that doesn't make him drawing dead. Like, I think that Sage will wish that idol was gone this time next week at Final Five. That's my prediction. But Jacques, thank you so much.
I have a last question. Yeah, cool. I mean, obviously you just two questions. One is your preseason draft didn't go so well for you.
Yeah.
It's not your best work.
No. Well, it's not my worst. I only just lost my second player last night. True. Yeah.
And you gave Christina what, 0.5%?
Well, it doesn't matter because I got grenaded, so I'm out now. Yeah, I'm finally out. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I don't draft well while pregnant. When I'm pregnant, I drafted the grenade twice.
Who's been the best in the draft? I don't particularly know. Who's kind of...
I think Puya's won twice and has the best average draft placement, so I think he's the one you would statistically give it to now.
Right. Okay, and the second question is, you mentioned now pregnancy. So I think you mentioned you're not going to cover 50, right? So...
Yeah, probably not.
How long a time until you and I are doing this again?
Probably a long time. I'd like to check in on 50, but I just don't know how it'll go. I'd love to drop in on 50 here and there. I hope are they really going to do this format to save some of these old schoolers? But I would like to drop in on 50, but no, I'm definitely not weekly covering 50. Given that I'm having a baby pretty much.
Is it going to be 13 episodes again?
I think so.
Do we know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's so many players. Episodes. It's going to be hectic.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the Australian realm of endurance survivor. It should be.
But
I don't know how you can condense it to 13 episodes.
Yeah, I think they're thinking maybe double boots, or I don't know. I mean, for me, I think I'll be able to. I mean, I'll watch it. Everyone has said to me that you never watch more TV than when you have a newborn. I've heard that from so many people, but I think podcasting will be tough. It's about getting difficult. It's about getting the time away, and it's also about my brain being functional. Is it functional now? Your mileage may vary. People will debate it, but I don't want to come on a podcast and just be, and have nothing to give.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern is Australian Survivor, because also the baby will be born during that. 50, it's I appreciate all the people that are here very much, but there's so many US Survivor podcasts. But I really do appreciate the people that make time for us and see something in global. But Australian Survivor, that's my beat, So the baby was very inconveniently timed, but that's not how babies work. You can't time it. So it's sad. This is the next episode is the last US Survivor episode I'll cover for I don't know how long. Yeah, it better be really good.
Do you think at 51 they're going to be we're now in a new era or something? Do you think that they're going to change it up?
So. Oh my god! If they don't, then I guess I'd have less FOMO with the baby. So yeah, I mean they have to. It's been too long. It's not been good. I can't do it. I can't complain about it anymore. I don't want to hear myself complain about it anymore. That's the biggest thing. This can't be what Survivor is forever, because it's so random. It's such a random thing that they've done for 9 seasons.
So what's the biggest thing you want to change? If you can make one change, what do you want to change for going forward?
List. 2 tribes would be nice.
2 starting
tribes would be nice. Yeah, that would change everything. I really don't like the 3 tribes.
Yeah.
I think that makes it so finicky so early. And they don't go to tribal council. That's my thing, is that I can't get invested when they're not voting. So that's a big one. I mean, to say that I'd want that over fire, losing fire, that, obviously. But that's just it does change the whole end game, But I still think I'd rather open it up early and just see where we go. What would you change? What would be your number 1?
I'd bring back themes.
I
know why they did it, because they say, I mean, I truly understand the point where they say they've got 15 or 16 really good people to make brains, brawns, beauty, and then they need one beautiful person and one brawny person, then they go to like need to go into like recasting or casting like suboptimal players to fill in to shoehorn into like a specific tribe. I think so. But I just felt like themes, like sometimes they created a very good like us versus them concept, which was great, which I like. And sometimes I think like it just made you better understand who these players were. And sometimes the themes were even bullshit. I mean, like an Australian Survivor, brains versus brawns. Like the brainy team were like just as big as the brawns. I'm like, these guys are still huge.
Yeah, well,
like,
that's Australia.
Yeah, and like white collar, blue collar, white collar, blue collar. I mean, what the hell is a no collar? Like sometimes I think it's even so arbitrary, but it's still fun that you have these different type of peoples, because sometimes I feel like there's this psychological twist to how they will play the game. Will the older people play different than the younger people? How will they vibe? I think like it just like added another like cool quirk to the game, which made the gameplay different and made you kind of view the season different. I mean, imagine today they bring in like conservatives versus liberals. I mean, just imagine.
That'd go well. That'd go really well.
Imagine
that's good. It'll be a good final season of the show.
Just imagine the chaos of doing something like that. I mean, it'll be so insane. Or like urban people versus country people. I mean, it's not even difficult. You can think out anything.
Yeah.
There's just so many cool things you can do. Like I understand from a casting perspective, and then you have to like design the whole theme about it, maybe challenges. But I miss it. I really miss it. The monotony of just numbers has been difficult for me.
Yeah, for me, I just want to like pull myself out of, if you don't have 3 tribes, like you're less likely to get the disaster tribes, especially the way that they do it. And you don't get to get, there's so many things that come off that. Like you don't get to know the players quickly enough. And it's such a broken system that they're currently doing. And the whole season can be off kilter early. I think that like a lot of the novelty of the early seasons of 3 tribes, like even some of the fun stuff we had in like 42 or 45, like that's worn off, and that's the best of it.
Yeah.
And then the disaster tribes are like so far past it.
Yeah.
And even like some of the best seasons, like 46, suffer for that, you know? So it's just like a own goal.
And I also think like there's a lot of people who you would lose in a 3-person tribe early on, because like you have to like keep the tribe strong or whatever. I mean, like I think South Africa, like somebody like Santuni, like if she was in a tribe of 6 and they lose out, she'd be the next boot. But in a tribe of like 10 people, if you can just make enough 100%. Allies, I mean, you have these insane like characters which would have been lost earlier. I mean, how many big strong guys do we want to see in the merge anyway? I mean, we've seen that so many times, but we don't see these quirky people get to the merge because they get voted out first. Because especially with a 6-person tribe, you really have to keep it strong. So I feel like we lose some of those like non-optimal physical players, which make for good TV as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, I'm going to be annoyed if I'm still complaining about this in a year from now. So that's what it is. So let's see what they come up with next. Hopefully something that has loved ones. Even though the letters are so compelling. This could have been a letter. We could have just written our letter, Jacques. But instead,
why do we have to meet in person? Yeah.
I mean, if people would prefer that, I guess.
But was it entertaining, Shannon? That's the question.
This?
I mean, exactly. Wasn't that like a thing? Like when Mike White asked Jeff famously, like, is it fun? Is it fun? Yeah. Was this fun? That's the question.
I've really lost sight of that question. But anyway, Jacques, thank you for coming onto the podcast. Do you have anything you want to tell the people about? You go on Twitter twice a year to be limited by my baby.
Yeah, it's gonna be less now. I spoke about Strava last. You can find me. A couple of people that actually follow me on Strava from the podcast, which is insane. Now I see people running in Boston and Vancouver and all kind of weird places, which is cool. I ran a marathon 3 weeks ago. I nearly died.
Oh, cool.
So
congrats. That's awesome.
Run is I ran 35 kilometers and then I walked 7.
It's so impressive.
So that's something I wouldn't call it a running marathon.
No, that's so impressive.
A combination of running and walking. It felt like a lot of rings at the end, just walking and strolling and roaming and.
That's still impressive. Yeah.
But no, other than that, not a ton of things happening. Maybe some things happening, but working on things. But when the opportunity is right, I will let you know. Yeah.
All right. Well, you can follow me at Shannon Gates. Karen will be my guest for the finale next week from Australian Survivor Brains v Brawn. Gussing Around podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, where Peter and I talk about stuff. We did talk about marathons, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you run a marathon? What's the furthest you've run?
I don't know. The furthest I've run, I don't know, well, I told a story actually on the podcast where I accidentally got put into the 800 meters, state qualifiers in high school. And it was like the worst moment of my life. I don't think I ran it though. I don't think I could. We talked about marathons. So
800 meters is like somebody who's done a lot of athletics in my life. It's the toughest race. Like,
I agree with you. It's the only one I've done, and it was an accident, but
it's horrible.
I definitely didn't run. I couldn't. I was like crawling by the end.
It's the worst race. It's like you're at your tiredest, and you cannot think or function or move your legs, and then this bell rings, and you have to go do one more lap. It's bizarre.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. We were saying because I didn't realize that pregnant women can run marathons, and I was like, it made me feel really bad about myself. So we were talking about that, but that's Gussing Around. Karen, I think that's it. Hopefully it's a great finale because it's the finale of me covering US Survivor consistently for, I don't know, till my life changes forever. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Let's do it, 49. Let's end with a bang. But thank you so much, Jacques. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. And I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.